My brother totaled my car. Dad said, family forgives. So I said, not this family member. The tow truck's amber lights kept strobing through the police station windows like a slow alarm, and every time they flashed, I caught another glimpse of my car outside, my car, sitting crooked on the flatbed with the front end folded in like a crushed soda can. The air inside the station smelled like old coffee and wet jackets. My brother, Kyle, was slumped in a plastic chair with a paper towel pressed to his forehead, eyes glassy, breathing too fast like he wanted to hyperventilate his way out of consequences. My dad stood over him with one hand on Kyle's shoulder, the other hand slicing the air while he talked to the officer at the desk. He's fine, Dad was saying, voice thick with authority like it could rewrite the last hour. He's shaken up. This doesn't need to be a whole thing. Then Dad turned and saw me. And the look he gave me wasn't relief that I was okay. It was warning. The kind of look that says, don't you dare. Hannah, he said sharply, like my name was a leash. Tell them you're not pressing anything. Tell them it's handled. It was the way he said it, like the decision was already made, and my job was just to confirm it, that made something inside my chest go tight and still. My palms were sweaty around my phone. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. I looked at Kyle, and he finally met my eyes, just for a second, and his expression wasn't sorry. It was pleading, like I was supposed to rescue him the way I always had. My dad leaned closer, lowering his voice into that familiar family voice, the one he uses when he's trying to sound reasonable while he bulldozes you. Family forgives, he said. We don't ruin each other over mistakes. I stared past him at the flash of tow lights, at the shape of my car that used to be my independence, and the words came out before I could soften them. Not this family member, I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it was. Not anymore. It was the Friday before Thanksgiving when this happened, which feels almost comically on brand for my family. Everything always blows up right before a holiday so we can pretend we're grateful while we're bleeding. I'm 27. I live about 40 minutes from my parents in a small apartment I pay for myself. I work in admin for a construction company. Nothing glamorous, but it's stable. I bought my car 2 years ago after months of saving and saying no to everything fun. It wasn't new, but it was mine. A little gray sedan with a slightly sticky driver's side window and a weird rattle if you hit potholes too hard. I loved it anyway because it meant I could leave when I wanted. It meant I didn't have to ask. Kyle is 24 and has never had to ask for anything in his life. He's the kind of person who floats through consequences like they're optional. He's charming when he wants something. He's helpless when he gets caught. Growing up, I was the responsible one, which in my family meant I was the one who got told to understand, to compromise, to be mature. Kyle was the free spirit, which meant everyone laughed when he pushed boundaries and then looked at me like I was cruel if I didn't clean up the mess. The day everything happened, I'd driven to my parents' house because my mom asked me to help prep for Thanksgiving. I should have said no. I had work, errands, my own life. But she sounded tired on the phone, and I did what I always do, I showed up. Kyle was there too, sprawled on the couch scrolling on his phone while my mom darted around the kitchen listing tasks like she was juggling knives. Dad was in the garage organizing, which is what he calls it when he wants to be physically present but emotionally unavailable. At some point, Kyle wandered into the kitchen and jingled keys in his hand, my keys. I felt that immediate snap of panic. Why do you have those? I asked. Kyle didn't even look up. Relax, he said. I'm just gonna run to the store. No, I said, stepping toward him. Give them back. He rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. Hannah, it's 10 minutes. It's my car, I said, and my voice had that edge I hate, the one that makes me sound like I'm begging for basic respect. That's when my mom chimed in, too fast, too eager to smooth it over. Honey, let him go, she said. We need whipped cream and the good butter. I can't leave right now. I looked at her. He can take your car. Dad's voice came from the doorway like thunder. Your mom's car is low on gas, he said. Stop making this a thing. Kyle needs to help. Kyle smirked at me, and I swear, That smirk was the entire story of my childhood in one expression. I held my hand out. "If you want to help," I said, "I'll go with you." Kyle's smile dropped. "That's weird," he said. "I'm not a child." "You're acting like one," I replied, and immediately Dad's face hardened. "Hannah," Dad said, warning again. "Enough." I should have taken my keys and left right then. I didn't. I hesitated, just long enough for Kyle to turn like he was leaving the kitchen, then pivot, snatch my keys off the counter, and walk out the back door with a casual wave. Back in a sec, he called over his shoulder, like I was ridiculous for being upset. I stood there frozen for a beat, anger and dread mixing into something thick. My mom kept moving like if she didn't stop, she wouldn't have to feel guilty. Dad shook his head like I was the problem. "You always have to control everything," he muttered, and that comment hit me harder than it should have because it was so familiar. Control. Yes, how dare I want control over the thing I bought and pay insurance for and rely on to get to work. Kyle was gone for 2 hours. I texted him. No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. My mom started doing that anxious pacing thing, wiping a clean counter over and over. Dad sat down and turned the TV on, like if he acted calm, reality would behave. Then my phone rang from an unknown number. "This is Officer Ramirez," the voice said. "Is this Hannah Collins?" My stomach dropped so fast I felt it in my knees. "Yes," I said. "We're calling about your vehicle," he said, and my ears started ringing before he even finished. "It's been in an accident. We need you to come too." I don't remember the rest. I remember my mom's face when she saw mine change. I remember Dad grabbing his jacket. I remember the car ride being too quiet, the kind of silence that's full of things nobody wants to say yet. When we pulled up to the scene, I saw my car first, tilted, crumpled, steam hissing from somewhere under the hood. The front bumper was gone. One headlight dangled like an eye. There was a sickening glitter of glass on the asphalt. The smell, hot metal, burned rubber. That chemical airbag smell hit the back of my throat and made me gag. Kyle was on the curb, talking to a paramedic with a cut on his forehead and his hoodie ripped at the shoulder. He looked up when we arrived, and for a second, there was panic in his eyes. Then Dad moved fast, past me, straight to Kyle. "You okay?" Dad asked, voice full of concern. He didn't ask where he'd been. He didn't ask why he had my car. He didn't look at the wreck. He just wrapped Kyle in this protective energy like Kyle was the victim of the universe, not the person who caused it. I stood there, staring at what used to be my car, and felt something inside me go numb. At the station, after they checked Kyle out and someone filed paperwork and the tow truck hauled away the remains, Dad started doing what he always does, managing. He talked over the officer. He tried to speak for me. He started building the story where this was all an unfortunate mistake and we'd handle it privately. He said, "Family forgives," like it was a law. The officer looked at me and asked plainly, "Ma'am, did you give your brother permission to drive your vehicle?" I opened my mouth and felt my dad's gaze on me like a weight. Kyle's eyes were wide now. He shook his head slightly, almost imperceptible, a silent plea. "Don't." And in that split second, I saw the pattern like it was printed on a wall. If I lied, Kyle would learn nothing. Dad would feel vindicated. Mom would feel relieved. And I would be the one paying. Insurance, repairs, missed work, and the quiet resentment that would eat me alive later. "No," I said. I told him not to take it. Dad made a sound like I'd slapped him. "Hannah," he snapped. The officer nodded, writing it down. "Did he have access to your keys?" "Yes," I said, voice tight. He took them. Kyle's face collapsed. He started, but his voice broke. "I was just going to the store." 2 hours away? I blurted, and then I hated myself for sounding like I was arguing in front of strangers, but the truth was bursting out of me now. "You weren't going to the store." Kyle looked at Dad. Dad looked at me like I was betraying the family. When Dad said, "Family forgives," I said, "Not this family member," and it wasn't a dramatic line in my head. It was the simplest way to say, I'm done being the cushion for everyone else's chaos. After the report was filed, Dad followed me out of the station into the parking lot. It was cold outside, and the air felt sharp in my lungs. He grabbed my arm, not hard, but enough to stop me. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "Do you understand what you just did to your brother?" I stared at his hand on my sleeve. "Let go," I said. "He didn't. He made a mistake," Dad said. "He's young. He's family." "And I'm what?" I asked, and my voice shook now. Not from fear, but from something bitter rising. "I'm just the one who eats the cost." Dad finally released my arm, but his face was tight with anger. "You're selfish," he said. "You always have been. You care more about a car than your brother." That sentence was so unfair, I almost laughed. "It wasn't a car," I said. "It was my way to get to work. It was something I paid for. You didn't even look at it. You didn't even ask me if I was okay." Dad scoffed. "You weren't the one in the crash." "No," I said quietly. "I was just the one who got hit anyway." My mom came outside then, eyes red. "Please," she said, voice trembling. "Can we just not do this? It's Thanksgiving." I looked at her and felt the familiar tug, the urge to fix it, to smooth it over, to take the weight so everyone else could breathe. And I realized that urge is exactly why my family works the way it does. "I'm not doing anything," I said. "Kyle did. And you all let him." The fallout was immediate. Kyle texted me paragraphs the next day, apologies mixed with blame, like, "I'm sorry, but you didn't have to make it a police thing." Dad stopped speaking to me unless it was to send a clipped message about legal fees and "your mother is upset." My aunt called me to say, "You know boys will be boys," which made me see red. My cousin, who actually has a brain, texted privately and said, "I'm proud of you for not folding," and I cried in my bathroom because one person seeing me clearly felt like oxygen. Insurance was its own nightmare. Because Kyle wasn't an authorized driver and took the car without permission, things got complicated fast. I had to take time off work to talk to adjusters, fill out forms, explain the situation over and over like reopening a wound. I had to ask coworkers for rides. I felt embarrassed and furious and exhausted. And the thing is, if my family had rallied around me, even just a little, if Dad had said, "Kyle, you messed up, we're going to make this right for Hannah," I might have softened. I might have found some middle ground. But instead they treated me like the villain for wanting accountability. A month later, my dad finally called. His voice was stiff, polite in that fake way. "Kyle's court date is coming up," he said. "If you're willing to drop this, we can talk." I sat at my kitchen table with a notepad in front of me. Bus routes, ride schedules, the kind of annoying logistics I'd been forced into. "Talk about what?" I asked. "About you getting another car," Dad said, like he was offering a generous gift instead of restitution. "We'll help you. But you need to stop trying to ruin your brother's life." There it was again, the trade. My stability in exchange for my silence. "No," I said, and I surprised myself with how calm I felt. "Kyle ruined my car. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen." Dad exhaled like I was impossible. "So that's it," he said. "You'd rather be right than have a family." I stared at the wall for a second, at the shadow of my plan on the paint, at how quiet my apartment was compared to the chaos of my parents' house. "I'd rather have a family that doesn't require me to sacrifice myself every time someone else messes up," I said. "If that makes me not family to you, then yeah, that's it." We haven't been the same since. Kyle eventually had to deal with actual consequences. Fines, a suspended license, restitution through a payment plan. He got a job for real. He stopped texting me angry paragraphs. I don't know if he learned remorse or if he just learned inconvenience, but either way, I'm not the one cushioning him anymore. I bought a used car a few months later with a combination of insurance payout and savings I had to rebuild from scratch. It's older than my last one. It has dents. But when I sit in it, I feel something I didn't expect. Peace. Because it's mine, and the boundaries that protected it were mine too. And the next time someone in my family says family forgives, I already know my answer. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone keep hurting you. Forgiveness doesn't mean lying to protect the person who keeps getting protected. Sometimes forgiveness is stepping back and saying, you don't get access to me just because we share DNA. Thanks for watching. If you've ever been pressured to forgive when what people really meant was be quiet and pay the price, share your story in the comments. I'd really like to hear it.